Right. So take a moment to find your way into a seated position, crossing your legs. Try to cross at the mid shins and just kind of work your way on top of the sitting bones. You might pull the flesh out from underneath you to feel those bones root down a little bit more deeply. And then take some time to adjust your shoulders, move your shoulder blades in. Try to lift and spread your chest without pushing into the abdomen. And as you sit up nice and tall, keep a nice amount of weight in the lower body. Just kind of imagine your thigh bones descending. Lift all the way up to the base of the skull and continue on up through the crown of your head without tilting your chin up or down. And then keeping all of that, bring your hands together in front of your heart, close your eyes, look away from your brain. And just imagine the brain cells raining down, descending toward the heart cells, the contents of the mind beginning to settle, the attention starting to attune to your breath, attune to the inner experience of sensation. And we're doing a core class today, so I want you to just bring some attention to your abdomen and specifically the area a couple inches above the navel. And first, just see if there's movement there when you breathe in or out. Notice if there's any warmth, also any coolness. Keeping your attention there for a few more moments. And with an exhale, keeping the chest lifted and spread, bow toward your heart. Let your hands move down to your thighs. And on an in-breath, raise your head and let your eyes gently come open. And welcome. So before we get going, just a little overview on the class today. We're going to take this opportunity. We have 5 Wednesdays this month, so we're going to take this opportunity to bring some attention to the core and really how it informs all of our poses and can really make our poses feel more stable when we engage the abdominals. And so we're going to play with that a little bit today and throughout some various poses. And I'm going to start you guys on your back in Vashisthasana. We're going to come into Vashisthasana later. We're going to start in Prasarita Padasana, which means we're going to have the legs up and we're going to be on our back. So you can come onto your back. And just start with your feet grounded on the floor. Extend your arms overhead so the backs of the hands rest on the floor. And really reach out energetically through your fingernails, trying to more fully extend your arms, trying to engage the shoulder girdle down into the floor. And then lift your legs one at a time and extend the legs at the same time. And with your legs about 90 degrees straight up, if you can get them to be, try to really feel as full contact of your lower back against the floor as you can. And don't worry if you have a slight knee bend here. We're going to be less concerned with full extension of the legs. We're really kind of pinpointing attention to the lower back here. And what I'm trying to point out is how the abdominals support the lower back. And this is something we can carry through in all of our poses. So this is kind of our baseline. This is a really good, secure position. We want to maintain this as we kind of turn the dial up on the abdominals engaging. So keeping your awareness really of the back against the floor, you're going to exhale and just move the legs 30 degrees toward the floor. Reach out through the ball mounds of your feet, reach out through all 10 toes, even the heels. Hold it there and just notice if you compromise that surface area of your back against the floor. With another exhale, lower the legs again, 30 degrees. And go ahead and bend the knees and hug the legs in toward your body. Since we're starting here, we're just going to go the first 2 segments. We're not going to go all the way to the floor. Just take a few moments to release the contracted abdominals, to take a few deeper breaths, and just kind of recover physically before we make that second attempt. And again, go ahead and extend arms overhead. Reach out through the fingernails. Try to really press the shoulders down, fully extend the arms. Really treat the upper body, including the arms, as your kind of your leverage, your anchor here. Extend the legs. And just notice, acknowledge the surface area of your back body against the floor. With an exhalation, move the legs 30 degrees, that first segment, and just watch the lower back. Spread the abdominals toward the back. When the tendency might be the alternate, it might be to push into the abdominals and lose the sacrum against the floor. Counter that, really bring the belly toward the back. Exhale again, 30 degrees. Breathe, very important to keep breathing when your abdominals are contracted. Good. Bend the knees and pull back and hug your legs in. And just take a few quiet moments here. Again, just releasing all that effort in the belly, engaging some deeper breaths, softening. And always just kind of taking note of whatever follows what you have done. And as you're ready, we're gonna roll to our sides. And we're gonna come into table pose. And what I wanna point out with this little sequence, we're gonna do some forward extension, some backward extension, and some spinal stabilization. So the core work is really about stabilizing the spine, when in other weeks of our cycle, we're working on spinal mobilization in different ways. This is really bringing our awareness to how the core can stabilize the spine. And so what I want you to feel when we come into downward dog and upward dog is how we can keep the core stabilizing the spine when we're in a forward bend, when we're in a back bend, and also when we're in a neutral position like plank or chaturanga dandasana. So go ahead from table, curl your toes underneath, and on an exhalation, extend the legs for downward facing dog. So of course this is a forward bend, but just kind of taking the abdominals toward the back body, creating that broadness to your sacral band, and feeling an even torso from the hip crest to the armpits, not falling into the front body, and of course not overly rounding either. And on an in-breath, you're going to glide into a plank position, nice neutral spine. So try to drop the hips in line with the shoulders and the heels, take the tailbone into the body, spread the chest. Keep it here, but you're going to bend the elbows 90 degrees and hold for chaturanga dandasana. And then sink the hips and spread the chest, and if you can, roll over the toes for upward facing dog. And still lifting the abdominals toward the back, not letting everything fall into the front body here. Good. Take the knees to the floor and sit back for child's pose. We're going to do that 2 more times. So just taking a moment here to pause. And let's do it again. So from table pose, get the knees set up in line with your hips hip distance wide. Take your toes underneath energetically, all 10 toes toward the top of the mat. On an exhale, extend the legs to keep your hips back, downward dog. Long, even torso, and the abdominals are at the forefront of your mind here, just kind of keeping your attention there throughout your practice today. And on an inhale, glide forward, plank position. Look forward, extend the legs, scoop the abdominals toward the back. Keep all of that, but bend the elbows 90 degrees, chaturanga dandasana. And now coming into a back bend, take the hips toward the floor, reach the chest forward, turn the toes back, and really draw the abdominals toward the back. And again, place your knees and sit back for child's pose. Okay, so one more time here with the same sequence, series of poses. As you're ready, you can do this one on your own from downward facing dog. Keeping attention on the core. And after that upward facing dog, sit back one more time for child's pose. That looks good. All right. So we're going to make our way up to standing. We're gonna be using our warrior 3 pose to prep for full arm balance. And kind of takeaway being that when we kick up for full arm balance, the handstand, oftentimes we kick from the back. So we're gonna use our warrior 3 to engage the abdominals, to teach our bodies that technique, so that when we kick up for standing full arm balance, that we're not kicking from the back or harming the back. And it'll be a different experience, hopefully, to kick up to that pose. So grab your 2 blocks. And just come with your feet separated hip distance, come forward and bring the hands onto the blocks so they're in line with your shoulders and your legs are vertical. And we'll stay in kind of the half forward bend for this warrior 3. So we're going to exhale and extend the left leg straight back. And we did that one without talking about the core, and I just want to kind of bring you into what you might normally do when you're not thinking about it. So touch down with the left foot now. Take another in breath. Exhale, raise the right leg. Okay, we have gravity on our back here, so we might be falling into the abdomen. Go ahead and lower it. So this time you're going to proactively engage your abdominals, spread them toward the back body, but also contract them, knit them together, bring them toward midline, toward the back body. Okay, that's your powerhouse to lift the leg. So you're not lifting from the lower back. Engaging the abdominals, exhale, lift the left leg again. Also extend fully through the heel. And see if you can hold that pose a couple of breaths. Keeping the abdominals spreading toward the back body. Good, lower the leg. Look forward again, re-engage the abdominals, wise actions here, navel toward the spine. On the exhale, raise the right leg. Without rotating the pelvis, hold it there, keep reaching out through that right heel, lifting the abdominals away from the floor. Sometimes the image of the underside of an umbrella is helpful. And go ahead and lower. And now just fold forward for a resting uttanasana. You can either dangle the arms or grab the elbows. Just let your head kind of become heavier, dangling from the spine. See if you can more fully extend the legs. And now bend your knees, take your hips and help yourself up, engaging the core to come up. which of course supports the spine on the way up. So before you come into full arm balance, I just want to kind of demonstrate here. I'll do the first version without the awareness of the core, see if you can tell the difference. And you can hear I'm just kind of exaggerating, but I'm throwing my back and kicking my legs. I didn't engage my core at all. And I do get up, but it's a different experience. When you come in, kind of like you did for Warrior 2, your hands are down, Warrior 3 I meant to say. You're engaging the core already. Lift up on your tippy toes. Take one leg up, do a little hop. And with the core engaged, I went right up. My back didn't really notice. And then once you're up there, you'll notice that with your core engaged, you might have more stability. Even if you're not doing full arm balance fully yet, you can play with putting your hands down, tippy toes, engaging the core, lifting the leg, and doing little hops. And you're trying to kind of have the effect that your lower back doesn't notice. So you're going to go to a wall. And Kathleen, do you have a wall there? Yes, so you definitely want wall support. Good. And now you're going to bring your hands to the floor. Come up onto your tippy toes. Engage your abdominals. Lift them toward the back. Take one leg up. Keep it straight. Just, yep, and do little hops with the core engaged. Yes, with the core engaged. Little hops. And we always want to train ourselves to be able to do things on both sides. So you might need a rest between attempting whatever leg you had up and the other leg. Otherwise, you're going to go right into it. So as you're ready, yep, do little hops. Try to keep the lifted leg extended, not bent. And just little hops. It doesn't matter how much air you get. You're trying to keep the integrity of those kind of building blocks of the full arm balance. Looks good. Little tiny hop, Kathleen. Yeah, good. Nice. Okay, so I want you guys to take a short rest in a child's pose. Make sure the knees go wide, you're sitting back, the arms extend forward, and the head is supported. As you're ready, you're going to make your way into a seated staff pose, which is Dandasana. Danda refers to the spine. The staff is the spine. And we're going to be using Dandasana as our entry point to Ardha Navasana, half boat pose. So, of course, go ahead and find Dandasana first by spreading the flesh out from underneath the sitting bones. Use your hands for support to help you move the shoulders back and to lift and spread the chest, and press your legs into the floor. Push them into the floor. Okay, engage the abdominals, spread them back. We're going to come into Ardha Navasana from here. So take your hands to the back of the head, and on an exhale, wrap the arms around the sides of the head and sit back, hollowing the belly out and floating the legs an inch away from the floor. And notice how when we engage the core, the abdominals want to push forward. So do your best to keep them drawn toward the back body. Reach out through your legs and feet. On an inhale, lower the legs, sit back up in Dandasana. And take a few breaths, softening the abdominals. Catching your breath if it became a little bit ruffled up. Pressing those legs back into the floor. And we always get a second chance in the Iyengar yoga system. So if not a third and a fourth, but this time, this pose, we're going to do a second chance. So from Dandasana, as you're ready, clasping, you might go to the alternate interlock, just to always keep track of those little habits in your body. On an exhale, sit back, wrap the arms around your head, lift the legs, 5 breaths. Use your abs to support your back. Inhale, sit up. Good, soften the belly. You might bounce your legs a little bit, releasing them from the effort of Dandasana, where they're contracted, they're firm. Beautiful. Now bend your knees. We'll come into some Navasanas, full boat poses. I actually find full boat pose, for me, is easier than half boat pose. So just begin by angling your torso back without losing the sitting bone connection to the floor. And that's step 1. We're going to do the most moderate version here first. So keeping your legs really, your feet really firm against the floor. Extend your arms forward, but without your shoulders showing up in your peripheral vision. So shoulder blades in, shoulders back. Your gaze should be angled up the wall slightly, not straight ahead. Lift your pelvic floor. Lift through the top of the head. Engage the abdominals. Notice how you might be pushing into the belly. Try to spread it back. Support your lower back. On an inhale, sit forward. Bow toward your legs. Just rest here. Okay, so we're going to kind of do a halfway step between the full pose from where we just were using a strap. So grab your strap and picking your feet up, your toes up off the floor, take hold of the bottoms of your feet with your strap. And you might wrap your hands. I like to start where my elbows are directly underneath the line of my shoulders, so I know I'm not rounding my back. So elbows in line with shoulders. So scoot your heels in, draw the abdominals in, try to keep your weight forward over the sitting bones rather than on the tailbone, so make yourself more compact. Lift the heels, angle your gaze up, and on an exhale, play with extending your legs. It might not be a full extension. Pull on that strap, shoot some energy out through the heels. Keep bringing your weight forward, spreading the belly back. Breathe. Soften your eyeballs and try not to throw the head forward. And then carefully bending the knees, placing the heels. And you can put the strap aside. So last version, we're gonna kind of wedge the hands behind the knees, behind the thighs, and slide the heels in nice and close until your heels come off the floor. Shoulders back. Find the sitting bones. Spread the abdominals toward the back. Good. Pick up the toes. On an exhalation, extend the legs. Maybe free the hands. Breathe. Notice what your belly is doing. And go ahead and reverse the steps out. Slide the feet forward. Drape the arms over the legs. Bow the head. Couple breaths. Good. Purvottanasana. So you're going to extend your legs back to Dandasana. So this is the flip-flop side of plank, Purvottanasana. So it's a facing up plank. If you need more support, you can do it with knees bent. If you have wrist issues, I think you guys are fine, but you could always do it on forearms. So we're going to take the hands from Dandasana and just slide them back and tilt the torso back. And on an exhalation, you're going to press the feet toward the floor, lift the hips, and lift the tailbone into the body. Draw the belly toward the back. And if your feet don't come all the way to the floor, don't worry about it. Just work on extending the toes toward the floor. Go ahead and have a seat. Come back to Dandasana. Okay, be back in Dandasana for a couple of breaths. So spinal stabilization, just like plank. To keep the chest lifted and spread, you have to really curl the tailbone up toward the ceiling. Lift the shoulder blades into the back and make sure your belly is softening toward the back body, that you're not pushing the belly up. You need that belly support for the back. Okay, so from Dandasana, on an exhale, slide the hands back, and on an exhale, pressing up, lift the hips, move the shoulder blades in, direct the toes toward the floor, take the tailbone up to the ceiling, soften the abdomen back, and go ahead and have a seat. You're back in Dandasana. Only 2 attempts on that one, so give your legs a shake. And now we're going to take a more restful break for the abdominal. We're going to come into Supta Baddha Konasana. So if you like a little spinal support for this pose, use a narrow blanket, or if you have a bolster. And if your hips or groins are needing support today, you can tuck blocks or anything that's kind of soft prop, like a blanket or extra bolsters under the knees or hips. And you're going to slide your butt kind of away from the end of whatever support you're using for the spine. And you don't need support for the spine, but if you're using one, make sure it's not jammed right up against the lower back. You want to kind of have the lower back free and clear. So when we have a practice that's so focused on one area of the body, it's important that we equalize. So we just did a lot of abdominal contraction all in a row. So we're going to keep the strength of all of that that's left over, but we want to recover the length. And we can do that really easily and effortlessly with this pose, which is a really big invite for the diaphragm to open. So once you've set it up, just be in the pose. We'll be here a couple of minutes. Let your breath be free and easy, and make sure you're on the backs of the hands so your shoulders can just kind of fall toward the floor around that prop if you're using one. We've been talking about the yamas, which are our personal restraints in the yoga system. It's the first spoke on the eight-spoked wheel of yoga. And we've come to asteya, which is not stealing, it's non-stealing. And I think it's interesting that it aligns with our core practice, because the connection I make is when we're in a stealing state of mind, we are feeling lack. We're feeling like we're lacking. And alternately, when we have a strong sense of our personal power, which comes from our core, a lot of times we feel full, we feel sated, we feel content, we feel empowered, and we feel abundant. When we have a strong sense of self, of our personal power. And so doing this core practice is a way to kind of affirm that we can keep that sense of lack or temptation to steal what others have that you don't, that you think you don't. When we can really tune into this seat of our personal power. Finding the strength within ourselves, finding abundance within ourselves. So take another deep breath or two. Make sure you're kind of stretching out the belly as you breathe in. And then once you have kind of concluded the next deep exhale, help your knees come together. And then help yourself roll to either side. The pose I'm kind of leading us up to today is Vashisthasana, which is the side plank pose. So now we're coming into a series of poses that will help prepare us for side plank. So the first being anatasana. So we're going to lie down on our right side. And it can be helpful to align your entire right side with the edge of your mat. Otherwise, just try to look for your fingertips all the way to your heels to be in one line. What you'll probably see is that the butt likes to sit back. We're in a very kind of gentle letter V. So we're going to try to correct that so that we don't have the butt farther back than the heels or shoulders. And that's really the work of this pose, is to keep the buttocks forward when they try to pull back. So just first begin by creating that line, and then you're going to prop your head with your right arm, your bottom arm. And you can use your free left hand in front of you for support. And just feel the center line with the horizontal, but it's currently vertical, across the buttocks. And bring that to the front body, which is going to help you adjust the spine. It's going to help you align the pose. Bring the buttocks forward. From here, you're going to bend your top leg knee, and we're going to come into the tree pose shape, Vrikshasana. So we're going to grab hold of the ankle, if you can, and place the foot against the right inner thigh. And you can go low if you have that limitation in the knee bend. Go low with the foot on the lower leg. And here you're going to keep working with the buttocks moving toward the front body, but driving the knee back. You'll notice the body wants to do the opposite. The knee falls forward, the buttocks fall back. So reverse that, equalize that. Keep reaching out through your bottom elbow and try to squeeze that gap shut between your armpit and the floor. Good. Keep the core engaged here. We're in a kind of a sideways position, and so we're engaging the core differently than we would be in another orientation with the gravity field. So just kind of knit the midsection together and toward the back body. And from here, we're going to extend the top leg. So go ahead and hook the big toe if you can, otherwise grab hold of the back of the left leg somewhere. And on an exhale, take the leg up. And see if you can draw the foot back as you roll that top buttock forward. Keep your bottom leg straight. So this is a pose you can do in side plank if you're able to manage all of the demands of that pose with the top leg extended. The foot is being held. But you have to know this action of moving the buttocks forward, of keeping the core engaged and really stabilizing you, and of driving that top leg foot back. Wonderful. Go ahead and bend your knee. We're going to do the other side now. So once you have the leg down and extended, you can find your way to aligning on your left hip side. And just spend some time lining yourself up so that you're in a straight line rather than that soft letter V shape that can occur. And do your best to extend that left elbow out away from the shoulder so you're getting as much closure or seal on that gap as you can. Kind of look out at your body, try to line yourself up. Feel the buttocks moving into the front body. Stabilize your spine, take the tailbone into the body. And then you're going to start to find the Vrikshasana top leg, the tree pose shape. You can bend the knee, place the foot, upper or lower leg, and then guide that right knee back. Keep moving the midline of the buttocks toward the front body. Keep your bottom leg really firm against the floor and engage your abdominals. Sometimes we completely forget to bring any attention there. Notice how it maybe helps take some of the wiggling of the pose out of the pose. From here, we're going to extend the leg. So either find a 2-finger, 1-thumb hold on the big toe, or you can grab the back of the leg, and on an exhale, take the leg up. Steer the foot back and roll the buttocks forward. Press your bottom leg into the floor. Engage your abdominals. Try to keep your weight over that left hip bone, not on the left buttock. So keep rolling the weight there. Drive the foot back. Breathe. Knit the abdominals together. Wonderful. And reverse those steps out. Start to bend the knee. Extend the leg. And go ahead and either roll onto your back or your front. And we're going to find our way into kneeling pose. So we're going to kind of do a combination of a gate pose and a plank pose. So we'll start by kneeling. We're going to lift the right leg first. So that means we'll just start by extending the right foot out to the side. Line your right heel up with your left knee. So come into this pose through the gate pose. Yep. And now we're going to bring the left hand down onto the floor so that when we press the hand down, the wrist is in line with the shoulder. And you might need a block here. But make sure it's not a tall block. So if it's, you don't want to be unstable. So if you're using a block, make it a lower block. Good. So right here, you have already some work to do to roll the left buttock forward, to roll the right shoulder back. Good. So one major piece of using the core is that when we lift our legs, we don't want to do so from the back. We want to always engage the abdominals. So before we lift this right leg, I want you to bring awareness to your abdominals, 2 inches above the navel, also below the navel. Engage the abdominals, and on an exhale, raise the right leg. Okay, well, just like Vashisthasana, what we just did, you have to bring that right buttock forward and gently steer that right leg back just to equalize the pose. Stack the top arm if you can. Good. Take the hand back to the hip. Now lower the right foot and just see about pressing more strongly into the left arm. You might not fully extend that left leg out from under you, but see if you could maybe float the knee or lighten the load on the knee, even if you don't get a complete lift off. Okay, if you can extend, try to stack the legs. Equalizing the pose, lift left side body toward the right. Good work. Now gently ease your way to a child's pose. Take some time, recover. So if lifting the kneeling knee from the floor was not good for you, you can try one of 2 things. You can try engaging the core more and see if that gives you the power you need to safely lift the leg. You can also try to not lift the leg and just work with what you have. And that really is the art of our practice, of kind of deepening our own personal practice, is discernment. Knowing when to lean in and knowing when you have what you already need. Okay, so let's try the other side. You can come back as you're ready to kneeling. We'll set up the left leg now with the gate position. Extend the leg, line the heel up with the knee. Again, feel how the buttock likes to roll back, the torso likes to pitch forward. So bring the left buttock forward to keep the integrity alive here, which is integrity in the pose is stability. So it's we're doing both. When we find the wise actions, we create the stability. Now we're going to place the right hand. So block it up if you need to, but not a tall block because we don't want to be wobbly. Notice how we tend to, the butt pushes back, the torso again pulls forward. So do your best to move your buttocks into your front body. Roll the top shoulder back. Good. Engage the abdominals. Use the structure of the front body to fill the back body, to support it, to corset it. On an exhale, lift the left leg if you can. Stack the arm. Extend through the left heel. scoop your right side body toward your left to equalize. Keep the abdominals supporting your back so the weight of the leg isn't dangling from the low back. You're using your core. Go ahead and lower left foot. Take the left hand back to the hip. Try to roll that right buttock forward. And now pressurizing right hand more, grabbing the floor with the left foot. See if you can either lighten the load on that right knee or start to move into the full side plank position. Awesome. Take the hand back to the hip. If you did raise the right knee, go ahead and lower it. And everybody, again, help yourself back to child's pose. Take a few moments. Part of our work when we focus on core is twisting. The kind of the center body is the seat of a lot of our center body organs, but really has a lot to do with our digestion, our inner fire, feeling of personal power, and the twisting really stimulates that area of the body. So we're going to come into a few twists in a moment. But before we do, we're going to do one last attempt on Vashisthasana, and we're going to use the chair. So hopefully you have your yoga chair. And I hope you find this version a little bit more accessible. So if you have a little sticky mat pad, you can always save your old yoga mats and just cut them up because they're so useful. I use them for, under rugs in the house, but also just for additional props for my practice. It's a great way to cover the chair so your blanket doesn't go sliding off. If you don't have one, it's okay. You'll be fine. But if you do have one, it's good use of it now. You're gonna cover the chair seat with your blanket. If you have that mat pad that's underneath. And then you're gonna climb into your chair, and be careful, so that your legs go through the back window. Awesome. We're gonna be coming on to right hip side again. So actually, how about, whichever way you need to face the camera, come onto that hip side, because I want you to definitely be able to see this first run. So whatever hip you need to move on to, you're gonna rest on that hip so you can see me. And you're gonna place that same side hand down on the floor. Awesome. So the chair is supporting the center body. So we've taken away a lot of the effort from the weight bearing of the arm, and also we can kind of refine the mechanicals of the pose. So grab the top bar of the chair and use that to help you bring your buttocks forward and take your heels slightly back. So you're straightening out. Remember that anatasana where we kind of hinge at the hips? Try to undo that. If there's a crease at your hip crease, you're trying to iron it out. The heels go back, buttocks go forward. You guys look awesome and straight. If we had a way to Photoshop the chair out of this picture, you guys would look like magicians. So now stack your top arm. Really extend through the ball mounds, fully extend your legs, which means they're completely straight, and keep driving your heels back and your buttocks forward. Even here, we have work to do to keep ourselves balanced. Now keep your core engaged, and remember that to equalize the effects of gravity, the way we are in space here, you have to lift left side body toward right. So we can't just let this right side body sink. We need to fill it with the other side. So same concept of the abdominals filling the back body. Now the left side body is filling the right side body. Good, take a few more moments here. Awesome. And now you're gonna use the chair, the bar to support yourself, safely coming to upright seated. So however you get there is perfect, just make sure you're safe. And I want to give you one more experience now. Same side, so whatever hip you were just on, I want you to find a way to free the other leg on top of the bar. So we're coming back to that same hip side. I'll show you where we're going so you have a clue. We're going to try to feel this that we did earlier here, okay? All right, so you've swung the leg that you're not resting on the hip side of over the top bar of the chair. You're back on that same arm. You're going to extend the bottom leg like you did in Anatasana. You're going to step your top foot into tree pose shape if you can. Yes, good. The toe if you, otherwise you're going to just make contact with the back of that top leg if you can. Extend the leg. Yes. Good. Now take that top leg back, bring the buttock forward, lift your left side body toward your right so you're not looking like a crescent moon. Lift the left side body toward the right, bring your chest forward. You guys look amazing. Make sure you're breathing, engage the core. Yay. Okay, now kind of reverse the steps to safely deconstruct. Okay, so you'll need to leave the top leg alone, help your butt get back onto the chair seat. Use your core to get yourself out of there. And now you're going to keep seeing me, you're going to crawl out of the chair and we're going to move the chair to the other side so that we can keep looking at each other. And then you'll climb in again with both legs. Awesome. So you're going to be finding your new hip. You're going to lift and center that hip on the chair seat. You don't want to be squished up against one side. So center yourself on the chair seat. Help your bottom hand to come down. Again, you can block here. If you need that low block to raise the floor, go ahead and do that. Try to align your wrist and shoulder. Extend your legs. And again, that idea of ironing out those hip creases. You can use your hand on the top bar to help you align your straight body. Reach out through the ball mounds, reach out through the toes. Stack the top arm. Feel your full Vashisthasana. If you feel like you're sinking into bottom shoulder, napping there, pressurize the hand. Create a longer neckline. Create breadth across the chest. So it's really wonderful to take poses that are more challenging in supported ways so we can imprint the really kind of nuanced, wise actions. Sometimes we're white knuckling our harder poses because they're short-lived and we're just trying to get through them. So it's good to take them with all the support to really feel the lightness, the space. Okay, so now second version, touch the chair. Help your butt get back in the chair. Use your core to safely bring yourself out of that weird position. And you're going to swing the free leg, find a way to get it on top of that chair bar. Yeah. This would be a great time to take a picture for your Christmas card. Look what I've been doing the last 6 months, playing with a backless chair on Zoom. Yeah. So you're going to kind of recreate the position with the bottom leg, with the bottom arm, but then you're going to be stepping the top foot onto the bar if you can. Otherwise, you have to modify. I know, Kathleen, you got that bum knee, but we're raising the leg essentially. We're coming into that really kind of glorious pose that for a lot of us is not accessible otherwise. So go ahead and extend the leg. See if you can move that top leg back any amount. Move that left buttock forward any amount. Breathe, spread the chest. Keep reaching with the bottom leg. Every part of your body has a purpose. Move that right shoulder blade into your front body. Guide the top leg back, beautiful. And now help yourself safely step the foot back down. You're gonna have to wiggle your butt back in the chair. You're gonna have to use your core to support you getting back up. Good, you did it. And then you're going to help yourself climb out of the chair safely. I like to do a simultaneous stand up and tilt the chair forward method, but whatever is safest is the best choice. And we'll put that chair aside. Okay. We talked about twisting. We're going to come into one of our deeper twists, which is belly turning pose. And we're going to start with modified. We're going to go through 3 cycles: most modified, medium level modified, full belly turning pose. So I'm going to have you align yourself on your mat so that your wingspan, your arm width, is going to align with the long edge of the mat, and you're going to be grabbing it. So if you can see, I'm going to be putting my shoulders at the top edge of my mat and grabbing my mat, and I'm actually pulling my arms, kind of pulling my hands so that my arms are really purposeful. And you use that edge of the mat like a ruler. So what we don't want to see is your wrists below or above the line of the shoulders. So bring your shoulders to the same height as your wrists. And then pull the hands apart so your arms are fully extended and purposeful. And now raise your legs one at a time with the knees bent. And just let gravity take over. And we're going to move in an L-shaped pattern. On an exhale, move directly to the left, and at the second half of the exhale, pull the knees up to the shoulder line. Keep the legs together. Move the knees down and back over and rest. Keep squeezing the shoulders against the floor. We're going to exhale, both knees right, and then up to the shoulder line. Down and back to center. Moving on an exhalation, over and up. Try to pull up to those arms. Good. Down and over. Over and up. Down and over. And when you get to the center, hug your legs in and rest and pause. If your shoulders start to move away from that edge of your mat, realign yourself. We're going to come into the second attempt. This is going to be slightly less modified. Okay, so go back to lifting the legs, extend the legs now. So now we're going to take straight legs over, but bent knees to come back. So on an exhale, move sideways to the left and then up. And then down with bent knees and over. Take the legs up. On an exhale, move to the right, directly over and then up to the shoulder line. Bend the knees now to come back. Bring the knees down and over. We'll do it one more time in this way. Raise the legs. Exhale in that L shape to the left. Up to the shoulder line. From there, bend the knees. Move the knees down and over. Raise the legs. Exhale, L shape to the right. Over and up. Bend the knees. Take the knees down and over. And again, hug your legs in. You can grab behind the thighs or over the shins or over the knees. Okay, so the last version before we do it, we're doing straight legs over and straight legs back. And first thing I want you to know is if your back is already complaining, you're not going to do that version. You'll do one of the previous versions. Second thing I want you to know is keep your abdominals working for your back. Finally, pro tip, use your bottom leg to carry the top leg back to center. So use your bottom leg to be a support for the top leg when you're bringing your legs back to center. Okay? So we're really going to be using the core here, but we're also twisting strongly. And I'm going to have you hold the legs to the side for a couple beats. Not anything super long, but just a couple moments just to really feel the belly turning. When we have the legs to the left, we're going to be turning the belly to the right to equalize. When we have the legs to the right, we'll be turning the belly to the left. Okay, so make sure your shoulders and wrists are on the same line. Pull the hands apart. Extend the legs. On an exhale, move to the left, over and up, and pause. Roll the abdomen all the way in the other direction. Try to get the side ribs back down. Good. Now bottom leg lifts the top leg. Take the legs down and over. Good. Let the lower back move against the floor. Use your abdominals to keep it there. Next exhale, move in the other direction. Over and up. Hold it there. Turn the abdomen in the opposite direction. Those side ribs that are peeling away from the floor, peel them back toward the floor. And now to return, use the bottom leg to support the top leg. Bring the legs down and back to center. Drop the heels toward the buttocks. Take a pause here. We're going to do it one more time. And for this last attempt, I'm going to watch you guys. So as you're ready, raise the legs. On an exhale, move over and up and hold it there. Turn the belly in the opposite direction. Nice, John. Yes. And now move down and back to center. Pause. On an exhale, one last time, the opposite direction, over and up, pause, turn the belly in the opposite direction, get the side ribs back to the floor, breathe, engage your core, engage your shoulder girdle. Good, and then back down and over and hug the legs in. Nice. Okay. We're going to come into our shoulder stand. So when you're ready, you can roll to your side and begin to set up your blankets. You might also use a strap for the arms, and you might also use a block to lift the lower back from the floor, not only to help us get the legs up, but to help us when we descend out of the pose. So let's just spend the next minute setting up. We're going to attempt to lift the legs into shoulder stand the way we did the very first pose, Prasarita Padasana. So once you're set up, just keep lying on your back. We're going to come into the pose together. And just for the recorded version of this, usually I recommend 3 or 4 blankets. Some people use a lot more than that. So I had a student recently discover that she always hated this pose until she added another blanket, and then she loved it. So just play with your props. The reason for the blankets is so we don't have such a severe angle on the neck when we invert the body. So you might need more height to keep your neck comfortable. If you're going to use a strap, which I always recommend, you can make a loop that fits you so that when you put your arms through, you put the loop right above the elbows. You want to see that your arms are parallel. In other words, your wrists are shoulder distance apart. That's a good fitting strap for your body. And then you'll just leave your strap hanging on one elbow. And you can lie down so that your shoulders are about 1 inch from the floor. Sorry, from the edge of the blankets. And look from side to side, which is something you don't want to do when your legs are up. Not good for the neck. But right now, before your legs are up, make sure you're centered on your blanket stack. That you don't see that you're all over to the left or all over to the right, you're about to fall off. You really want to take time with your setup, because ultimately we want to get really quiet in this pose. And if we're kind of nagging, something's nagging at us, then we're not going to be quiet. We're going to be kind of bothered by that thing. Okay, so go ahead and raise the legs. And if you're using a block like I am, that's fine. You'll just have it under your lower back. And you're gonna extend your arms overhead. Like we did earlier at the very start of our class today, we did Prasaripadasana. And reach out through your fingernails. And I know you have that kind of different surface because we have a shoulder stack under us, but just see what it takes to, with your legs straight, to lift the legs up. And you're not gonna probably get them all the way up today, but I just want you to see, classically, this is how we come into the pose. So I just want you to see what it would take to lift the legs up. And just play with coming into the pose that way. Just give it a few more tries. And I don't mean to have my chair here, it just happens to be there. Okay? So once you've given that a shot, you can lower your back to the block or the floor. You can lower your feet down. And now whatever way that you come in so that you can put your strap on, you're going to do that. And happily, that chair is helping me, but otherwise my toes would be suspended or on the floor. So you can come in through plow pose. Once you have put your other arm in the strap, you're going to grab your back, tuck your chin into your chest, and raise the legs. And a reminder that now we don't want to turn the head. So if you're trying to see the camera, just listen to the voice, don't worry about the camera. Same idea, we tend to hinge at the hips, that soft letter V shape. Do you feel your butt falling back? Do you feel your legs falling forward? So reverse those actions. Take the heels back, eventually the feet are out of sight. Take the buttocks forward. Take the shoulder blades into the body. Spread the abdominals back and reach with your legs. Now we're going to twist the pose today, but we want to spend a little time here first, finding kind of our best version of Sarvangasana. So, and also kind of getting quiet. So not rushing into anything. Enjoy the journey. Now remember the action from belly turning pose. If we twist one way, we have to move the abdomen in the other direction. So join your legs as best you can. On an exhale, you're going to turn your toes left so that your hips are kind of aligning at a 45-degree angle, but then revolve the torso to the right. Recenter yourself and lift the legs and restore your best version of Sarvangasana. Iron out the hip creases. Bring the legs together on an exhale, turn to the right, like you're turning the front thighs and the toes to the right, and revolve the torso left. Come back to center. And you're going to spend the last minute here quietly holding shoulder stand, softening the face, quieting the sense organs that live on the face and in the head. Keeping the wise actions in check. Keeping the abdomen supporting the back. Lifting the flesh of the buttocks away from the floor toward the ceiling against gravity. And rather than hardening your quadriceps, sense the back thighs absorbing your front thighs. Create a softness in the legs. BKS Iyengar said we have to make what is bulky thin and what is thin bulky. The front thighs are bulky, the back thighs are thin. So just like you're taking the abdomen to the back, take the front thighs to the back thighs. Take the bulky buttocks toward the front body. If you can come out through plow pose, you're going to do that. You're going to begin to bring your feet above your head, either to the chair or the floor or floating. You can remove your strap. Extend your arms overhead. Fingernails are very energetic. Extend the arms fully. Use your core and see if you can descend the pose with the same integrity that you had to come into the pose. Once your sacrum is resting, step your feet down and slide to the head side so that your shoulders and head now are on the floor. Leave your back elevated and either bind your feet, put your feet together, or cross your ankles. Let yourself become as passive as you can. We'll be here another minute. So if you're crossing your ankles, switch the crossing of the ankles so that we can spend equal time on the sides. So we're going to transition to Shavasana, and it's really nice to use the extra blankets from shoulder stand over your thighs. It's like a gravity blanket. It's kind of a supportive way to take Shavasana. Gives us a little bit more of a feeling of being kind of grounded. You can leave one blanket for the head. You might put something rolled behind the knees. You might use one of your blankets behind your knees. But try the extra weight of the blankets over the thighs. And of course, we want to set up so that we are spacious and supported and symmetrical. And once you're lying down, just separate the feet so that they're just slightly wider than your hips. And you're going to bring complete passivity to your legs and release all effort from the feet as well. Let the big toes fall out toward the small toes. And identify the parts of your body that are meeting the floor with the most amount of weight. And imagine that you don't stop where you meet the floor, that you kind of are starting to descend little roots out of the body into the floor beneath you. When we kind of drop these little roots, these little anchors, we feel corresponding lightness on the opposing side of the body. And similarly, we don't end where that front body faces the ceiling. Just imagine you continue kind of playing with energy lines beyond the boundary of the physical body. Each time you breathe in, expand yourself. And each time you breathe out, let something go, maybe make yourself slightly heavier. Let those exhales drain from the body. When we give our exhalations sufficient time, we really start to reverse the nervous system, which for a lot of us is defaulting into a sympathetic, more anxious state, fight or flight. And just by extending the exhalation or allowing it to extend, we can flip the switch putting ourselves, nervous system into rest and digest. And bring awareness back to the third chakra, Manipura chakra. Color we associate with this chakra is yellow. A healthy chakra is kind of a spinning movement 2 inches above the navel. So again, notice if the breath is moving you there when you breathe in, when you breathe out. Notice if there's a temperature. Coolness means there's kind of a sluggishness there. A warmth means there's a good kind of functioning third chakra. Envision the color yellow, maybe a glowing orb. Envision warmth, even if you don't feel it. Bring movement there. If you're not feeling a lot of movement there, you can invite a little bit more of a swelling inhale, more of a really emptying, draining exhale. The seat of the personal power, place of feeling some control in our lives at a time when a lot of us are feeling very out of control. Like, what is happening? What is next? What does the future hold? We can source from within rather than relying on these external unknowns. We can feel abundance where there might otherwise be a sense of lack, tendency to take what isn't ours, to stockpile, to prepare for the worst. So just taking a moment to feel sourced from your center, feel a sense of empowerment, sense of personal control. We have only responsibility ultimately, no matter what is going on in the world, we only are responsible for ourselves. Just take these last 2 moments in Shavasana, just kind of sensing yourself aligning with eternal presence. Presence is only now. There's a simple mantra to align or help ourselves align with presence. Mantra is a mind tool. Inhale now, exhale and. Inhale now, exhale and. If there's anything willfully going on inside of you right now, as far as physical effort, mental effort, just let it go and just give yourself this last minute to reside in whatever remains, whatever the residuals are from your practice, whatever is left over. With this practice, we slough away the excesses and we're left with the essentials. Take a full circumference of breath inside of you. Really let it swell. And as it empties, just kind of track that breath as far out as you can. Every last drop. Removing all the stale air, creating space inside of us for something new, something fresh. And when it's right, picking back up with easy, spontaneous breathing. As you feel ready, invite some simple, small movement into your body. Letting that movement eventually bend your knees and elbows. Letting it carry you onto one side of your body. From your side, find your way to seated. And today, let's take one hand on the belly, one hand on the heart. And just take a couple breaths. And now joining the hands in front of the heart. Let's take a deep breath in together through the nose. Let it go. From the place within me that I know to be divine, honor that place within each of you. Namaste. All right, you guys did wonderful today. Thank you so much for joining me. And come back Friday. I think both of you probably will. I'll see you guys soon.